You are listening to Claudia-Liza on Talk Radio. Shall we talk all things politics? Oh my goodness, the last 2 weeks has been crazy. You've had the Sue Gray, gosh, what should we call it? Summary, little update, little insight into the report. We couldn't get the full report. However, even with that summary, it was not looking too good. We've had Boris Johnson coming back, fighting, saying he's going to change things at number 10. There's going to be a shake-up. He ended last week doing just that. And then we had aid after aid resigning, some expected, some not expected. And now this morning, in the papers this morning, we've got one camp, the Observer, saying that actually more and more people calling on Boris Johnson to resign. It's looking like it was only inevitable that Boris Johnson will be going. However, oh gosh, which other paper? Here we go. We've got the Times. Here we go. The Sunday Times saying that actually Boris Johnson telling his allies that they will need a tank division to drag him out of Downing Street. He ain't going anywhere. Let's get more on this, shall we? Bill Bowkett, political reporter at Reaction, joins me now. Bill, where do we even start, shall we? Where do we start? Oh, actually, you know what? Let's start with, we had Nick Gibb yesterday being the latest Tory MP to hand in a letter of no confidence. I believe we are at around 15 who have publicly handed in this letter. And yes, now it looks like we've got a Tory backbencher, apparently, who's actually been a big supporter of Boris Johnson today, saying that his removal is only inevitable. Where are we with Boris Johnson? How much support does he have, Bill?
I think it's really difficult at the moment to gauge exactly how much support Boris Johnson has within the wider Tory party. You had Nadine Dorries, the Secretary for Digital Culture and Media and Sports, saying that 97% of Tories actually back Boris Johnson as Prime Minister. But publicly, like you said, I think rumoured to be around 14 to 15 letters have openly been sent to Sir Graham Grady, the chairman of the 1922 committee, no confidence in the Prime Minister. But the interesting thing about the whole crisis surrounding 10 Downing Street is that Tory MPs, Tory backbenchers, are actually very reluctant to talk about their position on the matter, even among their colleagues and closest allies, because they seem to be weighing up exactly whether it be the best move now to start filing a leadership contest or a vote no confidence in Boris Johnson, both for the success of the party come the local elections and their long-term prospects.
This is why, Bill, this interview in The Observer today is so interesting. Coming from a backbencher, Sir Charles Walker, former vice chairman of the 1922 committee. And does this point to anything? Does this speak volumes? As you said, you've just said backbenchers actually being quite cautious. And so the fact somebody who's actually previously been quite loyal and supportive of Boris Johnson to come out and say the Tories removing him is now inevitable. Does that show anything?
I think it does in many ways. And there's been other Tory MPs who have previously been very supportive of the Prime Minister to suddenly come out not supportive because ultimately the reason why Boris Johnson became Tory leader back in 2019 for many bench MPs wasn't necessarily because they thought Boris Johnson would be necessarily the best Prime Minister or the best man to lead the country, but that at the time, Britain was suffering from somewhat of a constitutional crisis and needed Brexit to be delivered, and Boris seemed like out of all the candidates to be the only one to deliver that mandate. But with all the obstacles the Prime Minister has been having to navigate during the coronavirus pandemic and further revelations into the Partygate scandal and seemingly failing to grasp on hard issues of policy, particularly regarding levelling up and now the cost of living crisis, Tory MPs are now starting to whether Boris Johnson should even remain in 10 Downing Street.
And it does look like, as I say, we all knew Boris Johnson had no intention of resigning, showing no sign at all that's something he would want to do. And on the Sunday Times today, reports that he's told some of his allies that he is not going anywhere. You'll need a tank to drag him out. And just last week, even yesterday, announcing some key figures, new aids in number 10, all part of that shake-up. Do you think that could make any difference at all?
Well, I think Steve Barclay is chief of staff. He's a very competent and popular MP was previously Brexit secretary and also the Dutch Lancaster as well. But there's questions as to whether he would be able to fill that position whilst also remaining in cabinet posts and also a member of parliament and also outside interests. But the other interesting appointment is Harry into Director of Communications, because while Harry has been, an experienced special advisor with Boris Johnson back in City Hall when he was Mayor of London, there are questions or doubts I would have over the appointment and also weighing in whether it will do actually any good for Johnson's leadership. So Harry's been an outspoken critic actually of Boris Johnson in recent years, and also Tory MPs aren't necessarily thinking that this is the reform that was promised to them to kind of shake up the government, to shake up the political system when he announced that there would be an office of Prime Minister and that culture change was coming. Because I think it's important to have a bit of perspective, because it's common for, Ides to come in and out of number 10 and within government and also Whitehall. But this one just feels a little bit different, and it can't just be that he has to change his inner circle to save his leadership. He has to prove to Tory backbenchers that he's able to, deliver on policies and to earn trust of his own colleagues.
So this is, as you say, Boris Johnson trying to show he is the leader. He will be leading. He's going to try and get that power back and make the changes that need to be made at number 10 to hopefully give that the boost that he would need to show to his Tory MPs, Tory party members, that he is the man to lead the country, is the man to be Prime Minister. All of this happening as the Daily Mail is serialising a biography of Mr. Johnson, showing him not just to be a weak Prime Minister, but actually somebody, this is who Lord Ashcroft, a former Tory party deputy chairman, is claiming, to be controlled by Carrie, that Carrie Johnson has too much power and has actually been involved in it looks like he's blaming her for some of the mistakes which is now being landed on Boris Johnson. It's extraordinary claims. Yes,
and it's what's earned her the nickname of Carrie Antoinette within Downing Street, because of her undue influence within government, being obviously then Prime Minister's girlfriend, then fiancée, and now wife.
Mistress at one point as well, actually, Bill. Yes, mistress, girlfriend, fiancée, yeah.
And there's some rather extraordinary revelations, I think, in the realisations we've seen so far. I think the funniest was the fact that she was put into a taxi away from Boris Johnson. Some of his eyes actually sent her to a different location just so she wouldn't be anywhere near her husband.
To stress him out is the indications, the implication being made here that he would be very, gosh, how do I put this? He would be almost scared of his wife's reaction. These are, allegedly based on what Lord Ashcroft is going to be saying in this biography. But do we know how much of this is actually true?
I'm not sure. I think a lot of it is briefings from people, either ex-special advisors and also MPs. I think we've got to wait until the book comes out to see the level of detail. But there's pretty reports of Carrie's so-called influence within the appointments process. And for instance, the one that stands out to me at least was back in November 2020 with the resignation of Lee Kane, because supposedly having a falling out with Carrie when he was working alongside Boris Johnson. And Downing Street seems to be coming back with some of these allegations, pretty fiercely, saying it's bitter, nasty smears. And I think it's important to note that if you're in that position, by chance in many ways of being, the partner of the Prime Minister, you're going to have some form of influence. I mean, look at Sherry Blair, for instance, under Tony, and the fact that she was able to have a word among issues like policy, but also the kind of inner relationships between ministers and special advisors and members of staff and so on.
I cannot wait. There's a part of me, of course, blame the woman. I'm pretty sure, Boris Johnson can make up his own mind, and he has been the reason behind many of his mistakes historically. But really, really interesting biography. Cannot wait for it to come out. But Bill Bowkett, political reporter at Reaction, really good talking to you.